Hello everyone, here is Mike again, and I am the co-founder of the Wanda Pratnika Center. In the last episode, I have answered questions originating from our listeners, and in the today's episode, I would like to go further on with the questions so that you can have a better understanding on subjects that are especially interesting for you. The next question I have received is, if a soul doesn't transition to the other side initially, will it ever make the transition, or is it doomed to linger among the living forever? Here I need to give a very clear answer, which is no soul is lost. There can be a period of time where we need to correct our understanding and correct our previous actions, and that is in most cases concerned with suffering, and out of that suffering we're learning a lot for the lifetime we had on earth, but also for the next incarnations. So the soul will have a certain time in which it will dwell among the living. We have gone through a certain transition so that the most negative qualities are placed outside of the emotional body, which means that on the one side we are perceiving everything through these most negative layers we have. This is a tragical circumstance in its own, which makes us to suffer even more. But on the other side, these outside negative layers, they are just using out, so to speak. Because we have them on the outside, they will be used up in the first time when being in the world close to humanity. And that means that these outside negative layers will be less and less influencing us, which means that they are just going to be less and less of intensity. So finally, layer by layer, all these negative layers will go away, and we will just automatically go up with our vibration. And that is because we, in our deepest core, we have the divine spark, and that divine spark is going to just pull us towards its own vibration, which is a very high vibration. So we will go up finally. And in the end, we are just going to arrive in higher and higher vibrations of the astral world. The higher vibrational levels in the emotional world are starting to become very, very beautiful. And it is the astral world where we are going to take the initial rest, so to speak. So we are no longer bombarded by the negativity of humanity. We're going to start feeling better and better and better. And finally, there will be a moment where we are going to arrive in the highest vibrational fields of the astral world, and the astral world is just divided into 7 main layers of vibration, and we will make the transition to the mental world, meaning that we are going to go in ever higher frequencies of the mental world until we find ourselves in the highest vibrational fields of the mental world, and one day, one very, very beautiful day, we're going to arrive at the causal level where the so-called heaven begins to exist. And we're going to rest shortly in the causal world, and then from there we're going to return in the next incarnation. And the next question I have received from Katie in London is, from your podcast I understood that negative emotions can attract spirits. I can't help feeling stressed from work and caring for my elderly parents. I often feel overwhelmed and sometimes take my frustration out on my husband and kids. How can I protect myself from spirit attachment? And now that I think about it, how can I tell if I already have spirits attached? Well, Katie, most people in our today's world are feeling very, very stressed. The world is speeding up tremendously due to very large amount of different things that are just all the time having a push on our emotional life. So this is actually something that is concerning a very large amount of humanity. And these are very, very difficult times. I think these are the most difficult times we had ever on this planet. And our planet and our evolution on this planet is going already for a long, long time. So the frustration that we are experiencing must be governed. In this sense, we need to take care for our emotions. We need to immediately decide or be able to decide whether I am now starting to experience a negative emotion and I need to address that negative emotion immediately. I may not wait. Sometimes the situation is stressing us even more without that we are able to just relax for a second, and these are especially difficult situations. But still I need to remember myself on the issue that this is a negative emotion that I am experiencing, and if I am not going to govern it, it will going to swallow me. The negative emotion is going to become so intense that we're not going to be able to deal with it. That's the simple truth. And so we need to just stop this from occurring. We need to sit down for a moment if we can. Most of the time we can, but we're not doing it because we're thinking that if we're going to be persistent with what we are already doing, we're going to be finally successful. This is a big mistake. We need to take a moment rest. We need to think about the whole thing. We need to stop experiencing emotions in the sense that we need to just get out of the situation we're currently at. This means that we may not continue with what we are already doing and being stressed. We need to rest as much as we need in order to stop the negative influence. And that way you are going to be able to go higher with your vibrations. The moment of rest you can do in a very, very simple manner. It is just enough to sit down and a deep breathe for like a minute or two. Maybe you can just observe when the breath is flowing inside your system and is flowing outside of your nose. So you can just observe the place where it is happening. And then you are all of the sudden be able after a minute or two very clearly see that you are becoming calmer and calmer. There is of course a certain temptation to get into the stress that is originating from many factors. One of them is that we feel stronger when we are stressed, but this is only an illusion of strength. So after a couple of minutes you will see that you are feeling much, much better, that you are capable of thinking clearly, and if you do it for a couple of times you will no longer have the tendency or desire to get into negativity. And the question, how can I tell if I already have spirits attached? Well, you will always be able to understand it from the intensity. If you are experiencing the negative emotion very intensely, it already means that you are no longer being yourself, that there are spirits that have come to you and they are just starting to influence you with their negativity. The fact is originating from you going more and more into negativity, and then you are going down with your vibrations and you are just getting on the level of the spirits who no longer keep their physical body. They are just sticking within the field of humanity, which is a very, very negative field. And then it is starting to influence you, and then you are losing control. And if that happens, it means that this is a spirit talking to you or talking through you. The spirit can understand you very, very well. It has made the same thing during its lifetime countless times. So that makes you to be very good friends. But this friendship is very, very toxic. It is a very, very destructive thing, and you will sooner or later get into great, great suffering. The next question is, how can we help souls who died in sudden accidents You mentioned they often don't transition right away. Is there any way we can help them? Well, such a soul is often in the position of a shock, and they will not understand what they are at, what they are in, what they are just supposed to do, or even that they can do anything. So this is like a state of being completely decisionless, and it is very difficult for such a soul to awaken. The stronger the shock, the more difficult it is to just get higher in the vibrations. So these souls are most of the time sticking close to the negative realms of humanity. There is help that is being done to them. There are many helpers on the other side who are trying to explain the soul what they went through and what they can do in order to release from the pain of constantly re-experiencing the moment of the accident. And in most cases, this is a longer period of time necessary to accomplish that task. So help is there for them and it's being given to them. So that should make you more peaceful about the whole thing and more understanding, and that way you will just be able to understand that there is not really much that you personally can do. We always need to see that we need to just forgive everything to people who just left the physical world and to wish them very, very well. That's the best service that we can do. So you also need to just imagine that it is very, very easy for that soul to just transition to the other side. There is not really much else that you can do. I would even advise you not to think about the situation of that soul, because by thinking about the situation, you may become attracted to that soul. It is much better to just wish the soul all the best and say goodbye and forget about it for a time. The next question comes from Elena, and she asks me, my daughter overdosed 2 years ago. I went to a medium, connect with her, and was told she is okay. But after hearing your podcast, I am worrying she may not be transitioned to the other side. I am still grieving deeply. Do you have any advice for me? Well, Elena, you would probably need to just say goodbye to your daughter. It might be very, very difficult for you, but that's what you need to do. I am afraid that if your daughter overdosed, then the chance is very, very high that she just has not left for the other side. And then always remember that there is a very intense lesson for your daughter not to do it in next incarnations, in the coming time. And she will remember that from the drug addiction comes only evil. She has to suffer now, and that suffering is very, very much necessary for her, so that she never ever again consumes drugs that are getting stronger and stronger with time. So the dangers are stronger and stronger. And for you, you will just need to forgive her what she did. She was in a very, very tough situation, and that is the only reason why she decided to take drugs. Now you need to forgive her everything. You will have to ask her for forgiveness for anything that you might have done to her or that you have not done that you were supposed to do, and that is all you can do in that situation. Otherwise, you are going to attract your daughter and she is going to stay with you, and then your own mind is also not going to be clear anymore, and then you are going to go in deeper and deeper and deeper negativity, which is the worst case scenario for you and for your daughter. So grieve as much as you need, but that has to stop one day. You may not grieve eternally. If you do, then you keep your daughter with you eternally. So just let her go her own path. You have been a mother for the time she was on earth. She is a being that has been born by the will of God, and she is much more God's daughter than your own daughter. So give her soul the freedom to just go through the experiences she went through and just try not to think about her anymore. I know how difficult that is, but still, you need to do that for your own sake and for the sake of your daughter. Okay, we will finish in this moment, and in 2 weeks you are going to experience a new episode from me. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.